Well, hello there, my beautiful friends. Today I have a very exciting video coming at you. We are going to be doing some in-depth eye swatches of the brand new Something Gorgeous palette from LoveLuxeBeauty. We are going to be taking a look at every single color in this palette and analyzing it, seeing everything up close and personal. So if you are interested in seeing what this new palette is all about, then go ahead and keep on watching and let's jump right on in. So before we jump into the eye swatches and seeing my eyeballs progressively get more red and more irritated with each swatch, let's go ahead and talk about the details of the Something Gorgeous palette, which of course is from LoveLuxeBeauty. So this is a newer collection to LoveLuxeBeauty's website. I believe this is the most recent collection they've come out with. They basically came out with two different palettes for $40. They're each 9-pan palettes. They came out with the Something Gorgeous palette, which of course is the one we're discussing today, and they came out with the Something Fun palette. Now, the Something Fun palette has a lot of greens and blues in it, and it's really beautiful, but it's just not really my cup of tea. But obviously the Something Gorgeous palette is right up my alley. It is things that I already own. I already own stuff like this, but you guys know this is my jam right here, and I knew I had to purchase it when I saw it. Of course I did. At this point I know I'm buying just dupes on dupes, but we're already so deep into the makeup collection and into the makeup hoarding that there's really no turning back. Now, the Something Gorgeous palette is limited edition and it retails for $40, although right now when I'm looking at their website, it does say that it's $35, so I'm not really sure what that's all about. It says it's $35 and available for pre-order, so I'm gonna assume that the Something Fun and the Something Gorgeous palette are both at the moment sold out and that they're gonna be pre-ordering it very soon, if not right now. Now, this palette as well as the Something Fun palette both have 9 shades in them, and you get 1.2 grams of shadow in each pan. The Something Fun palette consists of warm pinks and cool purples and is free of talc, carmine, parabens, and fillers. Now, I'm not sure how long this palette is going to be available for. It does say that it is limited edition, so if you are interested in getting your paws on this guy or the Something Fun palette, I highly suggest that you do it very, very soon when they restock. I would stalk their Instagram if you're not sure when they restock, because I'm sure they will update you guys there. But that is all of the nitty-gritty background details about this palette that I wanted to give you guys before we jump right on into the eyeball swatches. But jumping right on into the first shade in the palette, we have Squeeze, which is described as a cantaloupe matte shade. Now, I've heard that here on my channel recently. I reviewed, or did swatches of, I should say, the new Harajuku palette from Nomad Cosmetics, and they had an eyeshadow that was almost the same color that was also described as a cantaloupe matte. So like, is that just a new term that people are saying these days? But nonetheless, this is a super beautiful matte peachy orange shade. I did find it to be a little bit more sheer when I was applying it, but I built it up about 2 or 3 times and I was able to get basically full pigmentation, although it does look a little bit softer and a little bit more subdued here. And don't get me wrong, she definitely is a little bit more subdued, she's a little bit more subtle, but I believe they did that on purpose here because this is the lightest shade that we have in the palette, and I think this is supposed to act as a transition shade for the rest of the pinks and the purples and even the reds, and it works perfectly for that. So the second shade is called Doll. I think that shade is just the perfect name for this color. This is described as a milky cool pink, which is also a matte. My god, this shade is absolutely gorgeous. This is going to be my new go-to if I ever need a matte kind of lavendery lilac pink. This is going to be my go-to. This shade is absolutely beautiful. It is perfectly pigmented. It looks a little bit sheer on camera, but trust me, in person it was not sheer at all. It's a pastel kind of cool toned pinky lilac lavendery shade, and of course on camera pastels always look a little bit more washed out and a little bit more faded than they do in real life, but this color is freaking stunning. You guys know this is my kind of color. I'm going to be reaching for this all of the time. The blendability of these shadows were also really fantastic. As you can see, I'm doing this in real time here. I was able to get this guy blended out super quickly, and I feel like pastels can be a little bit tricky sometimes. We've all had our experiences with neons and pastels and whatnot, not really blending, but this guy blended absolutely beautifully. No complaints here from me. So the next shade is called Baddie, and I kind of can't with that name. I'm over the word baddie, okay? Maybe it's just me, I don't know, but I'm not the biggest fan of it. But I am the biggest fan of this color, and this is described as a matte lavender. It is exactly that. It's like a light pastel cool toned purple. It is really nicely pigmented as well for being a light pastel purple. That is very hard to get right, and LoveLuxeBeauty definitely got it right here. The application of this shadow was beautiful. It was easy to blend, it was easy to build up. I was able to get a pretty decent amount of pigment just off of the first, application of the product, but then I built it up a few times and got even more of a punch, which of course I love. This shadow is stunning. And I think that this shadow mixed with a little bit of Doll is going to make the most beautiful lilac-y pinky purple look ever. These two are going to be my go-tos, I'm telling you. So hopping down to the second row here, we have the shade Snack, which is a pinky orange, and they describe this on their website as a saturated color. And I'm going to take that as this being a satin. It's definitely not a metallic shade because as you can see here, I'm using it in the crease and it's blending beautiful. She's nicely pigmented. I'm getting a lot of orange there without it being too neon, but I'm just not the biggest fan of satins. Now I did find that when I blended this guy out, it definitely got a little bit more matte, but I do feel like if you were to tap this all over the lid, you would get a subtle satiny kind of vibe. And I'm just the kind of person that wants either fully matte eyeshadows or I want something super sparkly, super in your face. I don't really want anything super subtle like this. It's just not really my taste, but if you're into satins and you've been wanting a satin orange, this is a really beautiful one. It definitely works nicely as a matte in the crease, and I suppose it works nicely all over the lid as a satin as well. I'm just not the biggest fan of satins. That's all I can really say about it. I do think that the name Snack for this shade though is really cute because I really feel like they had Cheetos in mind here. This is the most Cheeto-y looking eyeshadow I think I've ever seen. Although I do think that Give Me Glow Cosmetics has a eyeshadow that is legitimately the exact shade as Cheeto Orange, but this is very close. And I think it's really pretty. I'm just not really the kind of person that uses oranges that often, but I feel like this is going to be beautiful paired with the reds in this palette, of course, and even the pinks. I feel like you can do something really fun and summery looking and bright with all of these colors. I'm just gonna stick more towards the purpley pinky spectrum of this palette, but we all know this by now. Everyone and their mother's neighbor knows this about me by now. So before we get into the next shade here, I'm just prepping my eyeballs with a little bit of glitter glue because we are gonna need it for this next beautiful eyeshadow, which is called Boomtastic. This is described as a lilac with a gold and green shift, and this is also described as a sparkle trichromatic eyeshadow. This eyeshadow is absolutely fantastic. This is probably my favorite eyeshadow along with the shade Doll from earlier. I would say they're neck and neck for my favorite shadow in this entire palette. This shadow is absolutely stunning. The amount of shine that is in this eyeshadow is just so incredible. The camera really did not do it justice here. And I really found that you really saw that gold shift super strongly. You could see a little bit of that green kind of peeking through, and of course you can see that lavender shift as well. It is a truly unique looking eyeshadow, and like I said, camera is not doing it full justice here because in person this was so incredibly shiny. It was sparkly without being too sparkly. It was absolutely beautiful, and I'm going to be wearing this all of the time. I love this formula, and I would honestly like to see more shades with this formula come out from LoveLuxeBeauty. So if you are listening to this, LoveLuxeBeauty, please come out with more shades because they are absolutely stunning. As you can see, I really liked it here, hence the thumbs up. So the last shade in the second row is called Red Hot, and this is described as a hot pink red, which is also described as a saturated color. I found this shadow to definitely have a little bit of that satin sheen as well, like Snack did, but I didn't think that it was as shiny as Snack from earlier. But I think you can see what I'm talking about in the swatches here. You can see a little bit of shine peeking through, but I really enjoyed this color. When you first apply it on your eyes, it definitely looks pretty red. It kind of looks like Red Hot candies, which I think is why it's called Red Hot. But when you blend it out, you get more of a pink kind of undertone to it, and I really like that. I think it pairs nicely with the orange, but I also think that it's going to play really nicely with the lavenders. So now we're hopping down to the last row here, and we're getting started with the shade Bangin, which is described as a warm hot pink matte. Now, as you can see in the eye swatches here, this is definitely a hot pink, don't get me wrong, but she's a little bit more subdued and subtle, and I really like that when it comes to this kind of shade. It's kind of hard to find shades like this that have that neon undertone but are still a little bit muted, a little bit subtle. And I really don't have any shades like this in my collection, and that's coming from somebody who has so many freaking hot pink eyeshadows I can't even count. Like, I have too many. trust me. Even though she is a little bit more muted when it comes to the actual tone of this shadow, she is not subtle at all when it comes to the pigmentation. She applied beautifully, she blended beautifully, and she was extremely pigmented for being a muted neon eyeshadow. So now we have the shade 10 out of 10. Trust me, that name is so fitting for this eyeshadow. She is a cool neon pink with a purple shift and also has a bit of a sparkle kind of duochromatic aspect to the shadow itself. Now, this shadow is not nearly as sparkly and intense as Boomtastic like we saw earlier, which was one of their sparkle trichrome formulas. This is one of their sparkle duochrome formulas. So it's a little bit less complex looking than Boomtastic, but you know, neon pink with a little bit of a purple shift, I don't think I could ever complain about that. This is my kind of eyeshadow yet again. A lot of these shadows in this palette are, but this is something that I know I'm going to use all the time. She is beautiful. She was easy to build up. I used it in the crease and it blended nicely too. In my humble opinion, you can never go wrong with a shade like this. Do I already have shades like this in my collection? Yeah, I have some things that are kind of similar, but I think that this is an absolutely beautiful addition to my collection of pink duochromes. And I feel like this is a shade that a lot of people won't already have in their collection, and this goes perfectly with all of the other colors that we have in this palette. This is an absolutely beautiful shade that has a lot of shine, a little bit of sparkle, but not too much sparkle, and a very, very strong purple shift. It is stunning. And the final shade in the palette is called Baby Girl, which is a really cute name for an eyeshadow. And this is described as an orchid purple, and this is also described as a saturated color. Now, I find that Baby Girl, out of the 3 saturated colors that we have in the palette, between Snack, Red Hot, and Baby Girl is definitely the most shiny, the most satiny out of all of them. As you can see, this is a true kind of mid-toned cool purple. I wouldn't really describe it as an orchid. It's definitely more of a cool purple to me. Orchids have a little bit more pink in them, in my opinion. This is more of like a periwinkle purple, but it is beautiful. This is definitely the most satin out of all of the saturated shades. As you can see, there is a pretty strong shine here, which I am not unhappy about. I think it's a beautiful eyeshadow, and I think it would be an absolutely gorgeous base for the shade Boomtastic, which of course was that gorgeous lilac, sparkly, trichromatic gorgeousness that we saw earlier. But enough of my yapping here. Let's go ahead and jump right on into some swatches. Alright folks, you have made it to the end of this eye swatch video. Rest in peace to my eyeballs because they were extremely sore after I finished this tutorial, swatch video, whatever you want to call it. They were very, very sore and mad at me, but I think it was worth it in the end because I wanted to show you guys what these look like on the eyes. I feel like eye swatches can be very helpful. So if you enjoyed the video, let me know down in the comments. Let me know how you're feeling about this palette. Have you already picked this palette up? Are you gonna be picking this palette up? Do you like the color scheme? How are you feeling about it? And if you did happen to find this video helpful, then I would absolutely love it if you gave me a big old thumbs up. It helps out the channel, it helps out small YouTubers, and if you enjoyed the video and you would like to see some more from me, then go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below to stay in the loop when I post and keep up with all my videos. Don't forget to let me know in the comments as well, what palettes would you like to see some eyeball swatches on, because I am more than willing to risk my eyeballs and my eyelids and go through that again for you guys and show you what these palettes look like on the actual eyelids themselves. Because, you know, arm swatches can only do so much. It's not like we're buying these eyeshadows to put them on our arms. At least I would hope not. But with that being said, I hope that you were having an absolutely amazing and beautiful day wherever you are. And thank you so much for watching and spending your time here with me today. I hope to see you next time. Bye!